What's up, my Yu-Gi Bros? I'm your host, one, the only, the RJB0. Welcome back to Techs and Decks Week. The card that I want to talk about for my second Tech Talk today is a card that I'm always surprised when it falls out of favor, because it seems to do so like almost every format, and then it makes a big comeback toward the end of the format. And that card is Mind Crush. Mind Crush is useful in almost every format because searching from your deck is really important to the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And there are a lot of instances in which you can use that, especially in the current metagame. Against every single matchup that you're going to be facing, the card Mind Crush will have a use. Now, if you're playing against the Teller Knights, that use is fairly obvious. Your opponent goes Deneb, they search out the Altair, you discard the Altair from their hand. If you're playing against Shadows, it's a little less obvious. But a lot of the time, if you're playing a deck that often goes into the X deck, like Burning Abyss, you're going to want to be able to make sure that they don't have that Shadow Fusion. So if they have a Shadow Fusion monster on the board that you think will get their Shadow Fusion back from the graveyard, either if you're going to run it over or if it's going to be destroyed somehow, then you are going to want to be able to get rid of that Shadow Fusion in their hand, because otherwise you can't make your big plays from the X deck. So when you run over the Shadow Monster, you can allow them to get that Shadow Fusion, then after they draw for their next turn, you drop it from their hand with Mind Crush, because this way you ensure the maximum amount of information from your opponent's hand possible. And that's one really big thing about Mind Crush, is not only does it get rid of a card that's usually really important, because that's what people search out, they search out important cards, but it also gives you information about what else is in your opponent's hand. The same goes against Burning Abyss. If you're playing against Burning Abyss and you run over their Skarm or you destroy their Skarm somehow, then they're going to be searching for Tour Guide most likely during the end phase. So if they search for that Tour Guide, then you can allow them to draw for their next turn, and then you hit Tour Guide from your hand, you get maximum information, which allows you to plan your plays for the next turn, and you get rid of a huge problem card. So I think actually Mind Crush is a really powerful card this format in almost any deck. Not to mention a lot of decks this format can deal with the consequences of not having that card in their hand. For instance, if you want to make a wild guess because your opponent searched something other than Tour Guide with Skarm, and you call Tour Guide anyway because you think they have it in your hand, and it turns out they don't. A lot of decks, for instance, Burning Abyss, can deal with the consequences because you are dropping a Burning Abyss monster or a Shadow monster from your hand, which will then trigger its effect. So it won't be nearly as bad if you have to make that wild guess and it turns out not to be true. So I think that Mind Crush should be considered for every deck this format. If not in the main deck, then in the side deck. I want to hear what you guys think, though. If you like this video, do hit that thumbs up button. If you did, let me know why in the comment section below. And of course, subscribe for more decks, discussion, analysis, and general Yu-Gi-Oh! Shenanigans. Thank you guys for watching. I'm your host, the one, the only, the RJB0, and I got a jet. See you guys.